Good evening, gamers. Welcome back to Not Spellify. I guess kind of sort of reaction discussion sort of thing. Friends sent this link to me from TCGPlayer. Their top 15 best commanders 2024. And I haven't really been interested in a lot of commanders lately. The problem is that a lot of designs just don't really speak to me. I think the last one that's really caught my eye or maybe challenged to want to build something is Brigone from the Jumpstart pack. Which is a little weird, but when the deck profile eventually comes out and I finish testing it, you'll understand where I'm coming from, hopefully. But regardless of that, we're gonna take a look at TCGPlayer's article here, the top 15 best Magic commanders of 2024. Let's see what they got to say. So, hundreds to choose from. Obviously, Wizards just loves putting out more commanders every year. I think someone did the math. I think within the past year or two, there's been more commander-eligible creatures introduced into the game than any other point prior in Magic's history combined, basically. It's some crazy numbers, which makes sense. It's the thing. 15 is Marina Vendrell. Marina is a 5-color, 3/5. When draw all your enchantments from top 7, tap it to tap or unlock the door for room. Ultimately, there aren't that many room enchantments to choose from, but it's a very fun way to play this commander, so it's on the list for flavor more than power. I disagree with that. Yeah, the problem is that if you want to build this that way with the rooms, you're obviously sacrificing some power for flavor. Although there is that, I think, blue room that in archetype is just if you control 8 or more unlocked rooms, you win the game, which is cool, I guess. But from what I've seen, Marina is primarily used in 5-color enchantment decks as a way to just draw a billion cards, which kind of feels like a bit of a loss. I don't know. It's like touch and go, right? Like, she is the lore character of Duskmourn, but I feel like she should have had a more impactful ability than just being 5-color enchantment slop. I say that, I mean, hypocritically, because one of my favorite commanders is Horde of Notions, which is 5-color elemental slop, but I feel there's a lot more variation in the elementals and just kind of more cohesion rather than just here's an overarching card type that you can then take advantage from. If anything, this is just like in the command zone, just a massive draw engine, or in the 99 you throw this in like Go Shintai or something and just have a massive draw engine from there, and instead have stuff like Sithis, Eidolon of Blossoms, and all this other stuff that in 5-color enchantments already draws you a bunch of cards, and Marina's just like, all right, here's like more card draw on top of it. So unless you're building the dedicated rooms deck, that tap ability is never going to be used. So I kind of disagree. Maybe it's, you know what, here's what we're also going to do. Here's what we're also going to do. We are going to have another tab open to see how many decks of like each commander is there. I'm kind of doing this a little bit off the cuff. For Marina as commander, we have 5,000 decks. That's not bad, especially just coming out this year. Like, on the one hand, it just is like just the rooms and then all the good enchantment stuff you could possibly think of, which for me kind of goes in the same vein of Wizards' current design of just like, this is just, it's just boring. It's just very boring design. Like, okay, cool, you're playing Dazzling Theater in a deck that really doesn't care about creatures. Maybe you make tokens. You're using this just because it's a room. 69% nice in 4,000 decks? Like, I'm sorry, I don't, why is this here? Yeah, this is what creature spells you cast, I can invoke. What creatures are you making in the rooms deck? You're making rooms. If there was like an improvise but for rooms, that'd be kind of funny, actually. I'd love that. But no, that's just boring. Okay, back to this. Marina, not a fan. I think it's like generic Wizards commander design slop. I'm not a fan. Necrobloom. Oh, you little goober. Oh, my little short on you this year. God, Modern Horizons 3 was this year. That's insane. Necrobloom is a 4-mana Abzan 2/7, which is immediately exciting because you're probably not attacking with this thing, but it's a great job on defense. Come on, TCGPlayer. That's dumb. I'm sorry. Like, oh, it defends. It's a 2/7. It's hard to remove. Get out of here. I hate that. When a land enters, you get to create a 0/1 planet unless you control 7 or more, and because you made 2/2, it's fielded on creature, which is one of these sillier cards from Magic's history. Your lands gain Dredge 2. I mean, I think I explained this pretty well in the Necrobloom short from, like, you know, when it got leaked. The card is kind of insane, honestly. I would love to find a place for it in Horde of Notions, just because the deck is very land-centric. Again, from another design standpoint, this presents a very boring line, in my opinion. This is just like, all right, you are going to just play lands, and you're just going to dredge your lands, and you're going to make a giant token board, and you're going to swing out. What does the Necrobloom look like for decks? 10,000? Almost 10,500? Are you fucking kidding me? Are people so like hungry for a land commander? Like, I really need this to be an Abzan? Oh my god. What's in our synergy that people are playing here? Okay, all the obvious shit. Going to get rug even better. You sack off the plants and the zombies you make. Field the dead because the commanders field the dead for the command zone. Okay, now the Reliquary is the least, actually no, that's okay, you know what, I'll give him that. That's at least a little interesting. Helps tutor out. In White of the Reliquary, that makes sense too. Vine Lasher, of course, why not? Merkwood Bats make tokens. God, it's just so good. I'm gonna keep the on there. That is just so boring. It's just just landfall slop, and it's landfall and token slop. Man, I wish there was something a little bit more interesting you'd be doing, but I mean, yeah, it's, you make tokens and you play lands. Sure, I guess. It makes sense, I guess. Wide token boards, it's gonna attract people, it's gonna want people to make the deck. It makes sense. Necrobloom is insane. 2/7 is in general hard to remove unless you have a hard kill spell or like an exile. I get it. I disagree with it, but I get it. Monsoon Mage. Okay, I know you were having a little fun stint in Modern, but what's your deal? 2 mana, 1/3 that flips into Leyline Prodigy. When you lose the flip, Planeswalker can discard your instant sorceries, yada yada. I can appreciate Ral because, okay, I don't know if I've really said this on the channel. I like commander design that incentivizes you to have to do a little bit more to it, where it isn't just like all the package in one. Like Horde of Notions gets you back elementals, but does not have an inherent way to get elementals into the graveyard. Jeskai, Saint Trapped, and Rem is a convoke commander that does untap itself when you convoke, so you at least have a body for convoking, but does not just go infinite. There is at least a stopping point of you still need something to energize this strategy or idea, basically. For as much of a pain in the ass as that card was, at least still incentivized where it's like, you still have to do a little bit of work here because Toxrill can on its own shotgun out token boards, but to deal with bigger stuff, you still need to proliferate, you still have to do this extra stuff on top, you still need to protect the damn thing. It's 7 mana, so it's going to take some effort to get to. Interesting, honestly, that it's seeing that much play, supposedly as a commander, just how they've ranked it. I feel like most of the time, though, this deck is probably just Storm.deck. It's interesting, though, that having the flip walker there, what's Ral at for commander months? What do we got? Never mind, what's the specs I do? Comes with loyalty. Okay, it's Storm Planeswalker loyalty, basically. Discount your guys ago, deal 2 damage, and then draw a card if you control blue permanent other than Raw, and then -8, exile your top, do some more spell stuff. I can't be too mad. I mean, Spellslinger and Storm is always something that's gonna be around. This is probably one of the better Storm commanders outside of Stella Lee, just infinitely tapping with Flickering Wisp. But like most Spellslinger stuff is gonna kind of break down the same, where you have to amass resources and build off this big combo turn. I appreciate, though, that there is definitely a lot of lead up you need to do for Rawl to actually do his thing, just because it feels incentivized that you probably have a bunch of other engines going beforehand, and then on your combo turn, that's when you play Rawl, instead of normal commander idea, where he is the cornerstone, he's to be out immediately to actually start doing stuff. I mean, there's also obviously the case you'd never actually flip him, and he's just constantly poking you for 1, which is kind of funny. Mods Feathers Knight. Okay, you know what? I appreciate it. How are they saying this? One of the cooler 5 mana black 6/5 flying, trample, and ward. Most importantly, though, she gets all creatures you can base toughness 1. I can at least understand the coolness factor here because it's definitely a very different take for a black commander. It is interesting though, because like a lot of black commanders are, you know, a lot of black removal is just straight up like either destroy or minus to some degree. It's kind of cool that like the removal is your guys are now paper thin Doritos, basically. Like I'm going to crunch you under my foot. I mean, it's at least cool because like this kind of reads more as like a standard tier card in the vein of like you play this in standard as like a top end threat rather than as your commander. But obviously there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it as commander. Like there's, you know, name a black spell that gives -1 or -2. Now those basically destroy target creature. And also you get to have fun with layers, you know, base toughness 1. It's interesting like how simple this effect is. It's interesting how simple this effect is, and it's still pretty good. What does the Maha decks look like? Maha's Feathers. What do we got? We made Stab Premium Removal! Let's go! Seeker's Folly is kind of funny, actually. Yeah, just make everything tiny. Yeah, let's play again. That's funny, too. Oh, God, Mask Worm goes crazy in this. Massacre Girl is a little funny. Knight of Souls Betrayal is kind of fucked up, actually. Wow, that seems really mean if you can stick that together. I mean, damn, it's black. You have like a billion tutors. Like in color. If you wanted to, you have Maha, then you go like beseech the mirror for this. That's kind of nasty, actually. Yeah, wow. There's a surprising amount of cards to just say your opponent's board get -1/-1. This seems like a very, very spite heavy deck. Or Pestilence, yeah, just hit up with the Pestilence so they can never keep creatures on board. That's very mean. That's incredibly mean. Yeah, no, okay. That's interesting. You know what? That's the design I kind of like. You have 1/2 of your combo with Maha, and you have a billion ways to capitalize on it with the rest of the deck. Maha gets the JMR seal of approval. Gets the little stamp of approval. You know what? That's probably more unpopular than I thought it was going to be. But I guess it also makes sense because it feels like the kind of thing where it's not very linear on how you want to build the deck. So it's like, well, it's also mono black and kind of an incentivized strategy people probably aren't a fan of. Balin the Haymaker. You know what? Another cool strategy. Also just kind of a really interesting card. I don't think we've seen too much of like Naiad. Well, okay, scratch that. We have seen this. New Capetta's entire Naiad block was just Balin, basically. 3 mana, token-based abilities, yada yada. Not to like shut down the reasoning, but the reason you play this is on the tin. You turn all of your tokens into a massive advantage engine. So, you know, again, another deck that I appreciate of, it's very cool that like it itself is one half of your strategy and your deck can kind of supplement the other part. It's just kind of a cool effect. I like that it's all its payoff, and honestly, I'd love to put this into my Tanaravos. That deck makes a lot of tokens, and this feels like the great payoff for it, because you just go, cool, have my guys draw a bunch of cards. I wish this was like possible in Jeskai, honestly. I'd love to throw this in St. Trapton Realm. What do we got for Balin? The deck kind of built itself, I'd imagine. Of course, Heir Apparents. Okay. Just shy of 10,000. Interesting. I have a Balin, 10,000 decks. That kind of adds up, and then just everything tokens imaginable. Of course, we got Collar the Small for making rabbits. We got all the halfling stuff. We got Took, so you get to make food too. You get your own mutation for Artifact and Aura. That's pretty funny. Halo Fountain, of course. Phineas, Parallel Lives. It's unfortunate, like, yeah, this is everything you would obviously expect for in a token deck, but like, at least Balin is kind of a nice little payoff for a change that like isn't Jetmir, where it's like, okay, I now have a bunch of tokens out and I'm going to present a rifle to your head. Instead, Balin goes, I'm gonna make a bunch of mana, draw cards, and I'm going to get jacked and break your jaw. So I appreciate the change of pace for a change there. Massacre Girl known killer as number 10. Interesting. Okay, I disagree, I feel like. Just because, I mean, it's kind of encroaching at the same territory as Maha, actually. I mean, it's funny, they both kind of go into each other's decks, because like Maha on its own helps get Massacre Girl up and running, or at least helps you get more draws. All the way around, Massacre Girl helps you be a better draw engine in Maha. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not sure I agree really with it though, because like, okay, nah, I'm not gonna say that. That would make me hypocritical, because I like commanders that, you know, don't have all the pieces together. This doesn't have all the pieces together. The problem is that I feel like you need a lot more for this to like work than necessarily a Maha. Maha just says, hey, everything's 1 toughness. And then Black says, all right, here is about 15,000 -1/-1 related abilities. Master Girl, on the other hand, goes, hey, we got Wither now. All right, cool. What do you do with that? We gotta make their toughness 0, dog. We gotta axe that shit. Known killer. What do we got? 4,000. People would rather make decks with the Goth Baddie instead of the cool Raven. But I just answered my question. Of course they're gonna want to make decks for the Goth Baddie instead of the cool Raven. Man. Yeah, see? High synergy. Maha's right fucking there. Hold a second. Okay, I was trying to see like what synergy cards cross over, but nah, it's really just like Massacre Worm and like maybe a couple other things. But okay, so you are playing a lot of like the Wither cards and a lot of the stuff from like, you'd probably play in Scorpion God like Blowfly Infestation to move the counters around. Okay. Tragic Slip is incredibly funny as a 1 mana kill something and also cantrip. Okay. And then just a lot of like the why are we playing a bunch of stuff that just is like death triggers? Is there no, it's just your stuff has Wither. Why are we playing this like black sack outlets? See, you followed me on like this entire top part for high synergy here. Why are these creatures here? Like, okay, Skin Render, I get. That makes sense. Vein Ripper, I guess, sure. Like, okay, it's a way to deal damage on stuff. Why are we... I mean, I guess we're killing a lot of stuff. Oh, okay, Yawgmoth action. You make sense. Why are you here, though, Mr. Wait. Ah, I see. Drivnon gets you 2 draws out of Master Girl. Understandable. Okay. I wasn't seeing the vision. I'm seeing it now. I apologize. What are you doing here, children? Go back to standard. Let's see what else we got here. Roxanne, Starfall Savant. Okay, this I think is kind of interesting, actually. Gruul, Artifact adjacent. They've been doing this a lot lately with trying to make more artifact stuff in Gruul. Like, you have the Dominaria United commander like Malira, I think. Tap non-token artifacts to make mana. Exile stuff off the top. I appreciate the also room for Roxanne, like, cloning stuff, because Red likes to make a bunch of clones of one guy and then just have a bunch of them at the board with like Mirror March, so you can just go Roxanne and then Meteor Swarm somebody out of the game. Also very funny that, I mean, they come in tapped, but obviously there's a bunch of ways to have them not be tapped. This is interesting. This is, like I said, another interesting mechanic, and also incentivizes you to play a very different play style for Gruul. What do we got for Roxanne here? How popular is our little cat druid? 4,000 decks. All right, that's kind of neat. I don't actually, you know what? Twin Flame would do it. Penarmacon, sure. Wolfgar, you get to play him for double attack triggers. That's neat. Yeah, I guess this kind of does slip into like Gruul tokens, unfortunately, but like you kind of start making different tokens, I guess. Provisioner's good. Jolene, Pugilist makes sense. Both Jolenes, understandable. Goldvein Hydra, that's kind of sick actually. Makes sense for manufacturer. Lava Brink, cool. Displaced Dinosaurs is very funny. This just make a bunch of tap 7/7s and just go swinging. That's very funny. I kind of see where this is going. You get to make more bananas with Kibo or better bananas. I dig it. Yeah, okay. You know what? I can appreciate this. I appreciate the strategy. It's different. I mean, it does kind of devolve into Gruul treasures. It makes sense, but like at least Roxanne on her own, just make meteorites, go bean people. A little sensible. Mr. Jolly Balloon Man at number 8. 1-4 with haste. It's Boros copies, basically. Okay. I don't know if I'd say this is fair, Mr. TCG player. What do you... Or it's a little bit like EG, but a little fairer. It puts you to second color. I don't know. Kiki Jiki being able to have access to white creatures in the kind of decks that want to flicker is a little... What do you say here? Yeah, cool things, reusable mana, I guess, sure. But I don't know if I quite agree with it. It's cool mechanics. It's cloning in Boros. It's not something they do that regularly. What do we got here? 4,000 decks ranked at 333. That's kind of neat. Small creatures, so yeah, Enduring Innocence makes a lot of sense. I'd imagine you want to play this deck almost like Felden, right? Where like you have some, I mean, they can't be in the graveyard, but you know, play stuff, make them all 1/1s, have ways to maybe untap your Jolly Balloon Man. You could probably make a pretty nice budget brew out of this, actually. Just because like a lot of like the really impactful ETBs and dice triggers are pretty cheap now. Skull Clamp is, you know, I mean, still like a $6 card, but like Skull Clamp with your commander says, hey, like 2 mana, get your guys good ETB, attack in, post combat, kill it off with Skull Clamp, draw 2. Sounds like insane card advantage. I don't know if I agree with Dazzling Theater. I could see Arabella, just because that's gonna make more creatures, but like, oh, okay, well, prop room to untap your guys. Well, no, you can only activate the Sorcerer Speed, right? Yeah, you can't do this other people's turns. I wonder if there's like something we can do about red creatures entering specifically, because it adds red onto that thing's colors. Oh, Eartha Joe, you know what? That's a nice include. It doubles it in Archetype. And then Agate Instigator is just another dude and like a sushi just to make a bunch of treasures. Okay. I can mess with the vision. Mondrak, sure. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Oh, Delny makes 2 tokens, and then your guys entering will be power 1, so they get double triggers as well? Well, Mr. Balloon Man, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. Okay, you know, yeah, you know, just make some combat celebrants. Oh god, you can just go infinite with 2 combat celebrants, can't you? Ooh. Not quite. I mean, like, you might lose the celebrants, so you have to find a way to give them indestructible. Wait, you're in white, you can definitely do that. Just eventually, like, each celebrant just keeps going back and forth, back and forth. Okay, that's neat. Okay. I'm seeing where a lot of these mechanics are kind of coming down. I wasn't quite seeing it before, but there's definitely a lot of abusability for Balloon Man, more than I thought originally. Yigra, Eater of All. Yeah, okay. Makes everything to food, 6/6. Whenever food's put in a graveyard, put 2 counters on Yigra. I don't know, like, not crazy. I mean, there's a lot of food synergies now, especially after Fallout and Lord of the Rings, which is kind of weird why after those is why we started getting all this stuff. But I guess there's like a couple of ways you can build Yigra. It's just like food.deck or just like forcing things to happen. I don't know. This isn't that, I guess, like put on the table from Wizards like, oh, here's how you should build the deck, right? Obviously, this is food/Golgari Aristocrats, because once Yigra enters, it basically says whenever a creature dies, gets +2/+2. It does make something like Savvy Hunter pretty nice, honestly, because now it says sack 2 tokens you don't want to draw a card, put 4 counters, go swinging. It also tells your opponent they need to have creatures on board or else they can't interact with Yigra, so what are they gonna do? You know, I mean, and Fade from History is just effectively a giant board wave. Yeah, it's not even, yeah, it's just all creatures. It's not token creatures either, which is kind of crazy. Seed Miser is pretty nice. Confectioner combos like no one's business in this deck, because then the rat can be sacrificed as food for Cauldron Familiar, and we just have a whole little infinite combo going, and it gets absolutely ridiculous, and then Peregrine Took gets crazy. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Unfortunately, just with the fact that, like, in the past, like, 2 years, Wizards have been like, yo, we're hungry, we really want some food. The food synergies have been a little crazy on. I could almost go so far as to say, like, food is slowly encroaching on the same level of nonsense bullshit as treasure. The only thing that I think is helping that, like, stay tame is that food tends to really just be in black, green, maybe white. Like, it never really, it isn't expanded out into nearly as many colors as treasures do. Because, I mean, treasures are everywhere, man. Revel in Riches, Smothering Tide, Random Blue Pirates, I already said a black card with Pill Splendor, a bunch of red cards. I can, no, not Gilded Goose. Gilded Goose makes food. Food's not treasure explicitly. I'm sure there's a green card that makes treasure. There's gotta be. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. There's definitely, you know, like red-green that makes treasure, not necessarily green solo. Food's just the next treasure, man. Give it like another 2 years. I think we'll be complaining about food, maybe to the degree, if not more, that people complain about treasures. Because the food synergies are getting a little ridiculous. In addition to Wizards also just like focus on like token stuff between the treasures, food, blood, yada yada yada. Like, we're gonna hit a token epoch at some point, honestly. Okay, Manglehorn is kind of funny. Say their stuff all understaffed. Very cute, very silly. Yeah, no, I mean, I can agree with a lot of these, like, decisions, choices, synergies, I guess, is maybe the way to put it better. I appreciate, though, that with Yigra, the deck doesn't quite build itself, but unfortunately, you do kind of build yourself into an archetype of just aristocrats. Delny, I'll be honest, like, I play it in Tana Ravos for the token doubling ability, But man, like, I think as another thing of like, I don't want to be a hypocrite, it does everything on its own, but also like, I don't know, it's the enabler. I think more so like in the, when a card I think just explicitly goes like, hey, your stuff is doubled, it just feels a little boring because you can kind of chart from like the release of, I don't know how else to put it other than like, okay, so you had just offhand, I might be wrong on this, for when we started seeing doubling effects like pop up for the first time. The start of doubling season and then like parallel lives, that was probably like maybe a 2 to 3 year jump, right, between one doubling effect to another. And now we just kind of see doubling effects like every other set. I get it. You'll want to be able to get more mileage out of your stuff, but also it starts just getting to be very boring card design. Like, I think people throw out the bets like, oh, X mechanic, and then immediately in that same set with the mechanics, like, oh, well, we got to include the thing that doubles the mechanic. There's the Merfolk from the Simic deck that's like, whenever you would explore, you explore twice or something, or whenever you crack a map, it works twice, basically. I don't know, Delany is just like, he's cool in the 99, but I don't think I'd play him in like in his own dedicated deck. Yeah, 3,000 decks, kind of the same sentiment. It's just like, it's a lot of stuff that's like, I don't know, it's just, all right, cool, just slap on the value, I guess. I think I've seen a Delany deck actually in person, but it's like, it's not the kind of deck that I want to build personally. I think it's cooler for like the top ability of, it lets your small guys get in. It's like mini Skulk, right? I just don't know if I'm as big a fan of, yeah, so I'm just gonna like double all my triggers and all my creatures right from the command zone for the rest of the game. It's basically going like, all right, I already have a pretty good deck, and now I just gas it up even more. But even then, I'm surprised they put it at 6. I don't think Delany is that good at number 6, honestly. Kellen the Kid. I could see Kellen the Kid at number 5, honestly. He's like more extendable free stuff, but definitely requires some setup for it. What's the reason to give for him? Kellen the Kid is banned, 3/3 flying lifelink. I feel like you could have put it more down there, but also the card is pretty nice. The card is pretty nice. I like that it is more of a reward mechanic than just enabling on its own. It has a nice through line with the rest of the Kellens. You can't play the red-white one in here, but you can play the one from Ixalan, and you can play the one from Karlov Manor, because you'll be able to, when you cast the back halves of Kellen from Exile of the Adventure, you then get something else from your hand. I have a friend that's playing this in a Falco Spara deck, and, you know, just be able to cast off the top, right, and then trigger Falco Spara. I feel like you'd probably be playing Falco in the main deck itself. Yeah, you're playing a lot of stuff that's like, you know, when you play off the top, do a thing, or just when you play from anywhere other than your hand, do a thing, and like Bibblethip to do plotting for you, Doc Orlock, and just all these discounts. I don't know if I'm a big fan of like just a lot of the high synergies being your stuff just costs less, right? But I do like that at its core, Kellen at least incentivizes you to want to do things differently. You aren't just spamming the board from one mechanism, you are doing different ways about it. You're either playing off the top, you're plotting, you're playing from Exile, you're casting from somewhere else. It's all different. Like, I can complain about certain parts, but at least it's the element of you're playing stuff with a lot of different sets and a lot of different mechanics that just happen to work together because they all just happen to play from Exile. That, I think, is like the pinnacle of Magic design, in my opinion. You have a lot of these disparate mechanics that just happen to have something in the Venn diagram that keeps them all together, and then something that lets you get it like random cool synergy with it all together. I can complain about like, oh, it's all like the value and all that, but I appreciate that at its core, there's the incentivization, at least, you know, in this example of Kellen, where it's like, all right, cool, here's all these disparate mechanics that let you cast from somewhere else. But now with him, they all get to do some more stuff. I can appreciate that from the design standpoint. I don't think I'm as big a fan of like some of the design, but like I said, also, I might be rambling a little bit here, but my point is, I can dislike some parts and like some others. I like Kellen. He's not a bad commander. I can see why he's a number 5. Antrag? Really? He's just Extra Combat's commander. That's all he reads. Why is he number 4? I don't agree with this. I very vehemently disagree. Why do they rank him number 4? Okay, Quake Mole, how many decks you got? Okay, more than I thought, honestly. Okay, on the one hand, interesting effect. On the other hand, with how simple it is, you're just gonna play every card in the game that says, oh, do this thing that then lets me do the other thing. Okay, Ellis Dragon's kind of funny, actually. So now, like, Anzrag won't die. And then says, hey, everybody's gotta block Anzrag while my other guys just slide past and beat you over the head with a stick. Okay, I mean, that's like the one funny card here. Everything else is just boring and typical, in my opinion. It's like, all right, cool, I need something that lets me say block everything with Anzrag, and I go swing, and then everybody goes in. It's an interesting idea. I don't think between everything else that's been printed this year, it's worth the placement at number 4? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, TCGPlayer. Number 4, I don't agree. The Gitrog Gravitas Ride. It's just more Golgari Sacked lands. Who wrote? Jason Coles. Jason, buddy, I understand you have a type of deck at this point, clearly. You love playing lands. You love sacking dudes. Also, I understand you gotta add something here. Please stop repeating yourself. Stop. Please stop repeating like what the card actually says. I can read the effect of the card. Maybe not every browser has like the nice little display here. But like, man, tell me why it's your favorite, because this doesn't. This doesn't do it for me, man. Okay, what's funny with Gitrog? It has haste, so it can at least swing immediately. You play a bunch of those guys that are like really cheap, high power, but have some weird drawback. And then after it deals damage with trample, you sack it off, you draw a bunch, slap down a bunch of lands. I'm gonna look at the EDH rec page and go, ah, I see. You're playing the 3 mana 8/1, right? Am I correct? Okay, I'm kind of close. You're playing all the cheap expensive stuff that you're just gonna saddle up on Gitrog, go swing, and do stuff that Golgari loves. I'm not a fan. This is, I think, my instance of this is a commander I don't like because it enables everything on its own. You have one big dude that he goes, oh, he's on the Gitrog, and now he goes charging through, and after they deal damage, the Gitrog violently eats him. He's gone. He's dead now. And you're left with lands and cards. The same thing that, like, half the Golgari decks actually do for Aristocrats. Any interesting cards in here? I mean, you get to play a lot of these, like, on rate, really good, but very kind of bad high power guys. I'll work with you here. Being able to go Yargle Multani into Gitrog, draw 18, put up to 18 lands into play is kind of funny. I can't lie. Spelunking, yeah, that makes sense because like you want the lands to be untapped, and Amulet of Vigor, that's probably in here too. Lupine Prototype, all right, that's a cool card, you know, that probably hasn't seen play since like Limited basically. Yeah, I don't know, like at its core, it's another mechanism to do all the stuff Golgari is normally doing already, between sacking guys, getting value, playing lands. I don't know, man. This doesn't quite scratch my itch. This is just another way of like doing the whole Necrobloom stuff without as much land variability, I guess. Voja, God, I don't want to start the discourse again, but damn, Voja is a hell of a card. I'm surprised it's top print. I get why, because I think these guys are actually standard legal, like the whole little cycle of pre-release Karlov Manor guys. What an insane pile of keywords on a fucking card, man. Yeah, secret hidden keyword called push. Damn right, Jason. God, it's the one part they could have done with this card was maybe like the problem is you swap around like counter and the draw condition. That's only a bunch of dinky elves, but with all the cards in the world, they're gonna have the mana for it. So instead, we just have like a bunch of elves with shotguns and a Voja that is absolutely huge. Because the fact that it also pumps itself for all of this, and you're guaranteed at least drawing a card. God, man, okay, I haven't said it. I'm not an Elf Ball fan. I don't like it. A friend gifted me a Golgari Elf Ball deck for Christmas one year. I haven't really played the deck that much. It's not a type of playstyle that I even really like grasp with as a combo player. There's just a lot of weird elements that I'm not used to. It sounds dumb, I'll admit. I'm just not an Elf Ball guy. But I mean, like, okay, what do we got here? We got Shalai Halar. Makes sense, just like slam a bunch of things. But like, how do I say? It's elves, but like, I think actually better than most elf decks. Oh, like, okay, most elf decks are Golgari, so you miss out on a lot of like the good black tutors, sack tools, removal, sure. But white also has some pretty good removal, honestly. You got swords, you get Path to Exile. You're in Boros, so you also get a lot of protection. You're in Selesnya, so you also get some searching there with like Eladamri's Skull. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if giving elf technology Boros was the best idea. Yeah, Annie joins up. God, that's nasty. God, Voja could be the only card in your entire deck that needs Annie, and you can still justify playing it for Annie. Good God. I guess the part is it incentivizes you to play some wolves in the deck, but unfortunately Wizards printed a mechanic called Changeling, so you just play good Changeling adjacent stuff in there anyway, like Mass Vandal. Cool, it's like another removal tool for artifacts, enchantments. Roaming Throne, just call it a wolf or an elf. You probably call it an elf, right? But like, who cares? You probably call it a wolf, honestly, because you want the punchiness. I don't want to start more discourse, but Voja is insane. Yeah, no, like, God. Ranked 56 in your first year. That's crazy. And that's only number 2. What the hell could number 1 be, I wonder? I don't know if my review really went that well. I can see why Voja's at number 2. I disagree with it because I don't like a lot of the mechanical power of the card, but like, the card's a brick shithouse. Yeah, it makes sense. We got number 1 here. Caesar Legion's Emperor. That, I don't think I would have guessed that, honestly. So I guess it makes sense because the past couple years was been going really hard on the Universe Beyond thing. This is a lot of players' first deck because they're going to be like, oh, I love Fallout. I'm going to get this deck. And you know what? I can't disagree. I haven't played Fallout. I'll admit I don't have the context for like, I can't say how like representative of his game character he is, but as a Magic card, I mean, it works. I can't deny it's stuff Mardu wants to be doing. Between Mardu Sacrifice, it's always been a classic deck archetype. It requires at least some setup beforehand that you have the first creatures who sack off and then do your other modes of the 2 soldiers that are tapped and attacking, or just like doming someone for all of your creatures. It's not an original archetype for Mardu, but it's at least like a very powerful Mardu commander, I guess. I don't know, I'm touch and go. What are the stats here? In the top 100 in your first year. Okay, golf clap. Good job, buddy. You did it. But like, yeah, I mean, it's annoying because on the one hand, it's like, it's doing something that we've been seeing Mardu do for a billion years. But on the other hand, it's like, well, it's kind of good at what it does. I can't deny that. Damn, I would not have put Caesar at #1 of the year. I mean, I guess it's Jason's opinion from TCGPlayer. Yeah, I can't deny with his reasoning. It's card advantage and it makes bodies. If they don't block the soldiers, then you have another guy to do this again next turn. Not even assuming you put any more creatures down beyond that. It builds itself. I can't deny it. Like, it's everything Mardu Sacrifice wants, everything Mardu Tokens wants. Do I think it is like #1 commander? I don't, honestly. If I was to look at all the commanders printed this year, can I do that 3D truck? Lathril, Ur-Dragon, Kranko, Atraxa. Huh? What? Huh? Well, sorry, I was taken aback by how new and original the top 4 were. Pokemon kind of cool, but like he's like the fan favorite currently. Like, okay, what's the highest like new commander from this year in terms of like, you know, the picks? I think overall TCG, I don't know, this is just solely by Mr. Jason Coles here. I don't know if he's speaking for the entirety of TCGPlayer, but personally, I feel there's a handful of guys that probably could have been better. Like Flubs the Fool, I think he definitely should have been on here. He definitely created a very interesting play style that I don't think a lot of decks have even tried pursuing, at least especially in Teamer. Some of these are hits, some of these are kind of crash out, some of these don't work, some of these are pretty good. Like Kellen, I like Maha is definitely another cool mono black commander we haven't really seen much of. But yeah, I don't know. I've said my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd be curious to see how you think along the same lines. You agree that these commanders should be top, if there's anything else there should be on this list instead. I don't know if I'd put as many of these guys on here. I'd definitely maybe throw like, definitely Maha, maybe Balin. And while you're down there commenting, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Discord, and check out the affiliate links for Ultra Pro Nerd Gear. Get 5% off your next TCG accessory order. And with that, I'll see you guys next time for more cardboard related content. Until then, always hold some mana to counter one of these commanders. Like, I don't know, man. What are the odds they're gonna play around like Mana Tithe? Until next time, I'll see you then. Have a good one, guys.